my friends. Carrying on with this series of talks on a subject I'm calling conflict and curiosity. This is part 4, and I suspect the last installment in this particular series. In part 3, I spoke about the necessity to establish a personal practice of physical stillness as a foundation for recognizing your own emotional storms. Without this capacity to be still and bear witness to your own spirit of contention, it is nigh near impossible to have a true, compassionate, and empathic relationship with someone whose opinion you strongly disagree with. I suggested that the two qualities that we need to cultivate are courage and tenacity. If you've watched the whole series, you've heard me speak earlier that I'm a fan of word derivation, studying the origins of how words develop in our language. Courage, from the French, heart and linen. Yeah, I had to look that up too. In medieval times, the chevaliers, the knights, in moving into battle, preparing for battle, would take a piece of linen embroidered by typically their sweetheart, maybe their sister, their mother, embroidered with a cross, and sometimes a psalm would be embroidered onto it as well. They would slip this piece of linen underneath their breastplate prior to heading into battle. It was their courage. When I found out the origin of that, it gave me a whole different take on courage. Prior to that, I thought of it as sort of a, hey, man up kind of thing, you know, a Klingon, I am Worf, I fear no man kind of thing. But courage in this sense has, to me, a sense of the feminine divine, holding, really, God holding you in her hand, as it were, as you head off into the battles of life. And I think one of the fundamental issues that we're dealing with in conflict, in disagreement, is fear. We fear that we're going to lose our turf, our cognitive turf that we fought oh so hard for. And perhaps a more subtle yet pernicious fear that underlies that is we really don't know what the heck is going on. Really. We don't know what's going on with climate change. Is it man-caused or a natural cycle in the environment? We don't know what's going on with vaccinations. Is it the only responsible thing to do, or is it a giant corporate evil plan? We don't know if it's eating meat is okay, or is being a vegan the only ethical way to behave? You know, fill in the blanks. We certainly don't know what's going on in a grand cosmological sense, although it's certainly a lot of products to buy off the shelf. And this gives rise to defending your turf, defending your cognitive turf. And when it's done rigidly, well, the term for it is fundamentalism. Fundamentalism is an essential quality to recognize in yourself, and certainly to recognize in others with whom we are in disagreement. As we talked about earlier in the series, sincerity, giving an honest measure of yourself, is an absolute fundamental quality in order for us to have any chance of peace in our dealings. Fundamentalists have three qualities, and for this point I draw from the writings of John Ralston Saul, who said, one, they profess the truth, often with a capital T. They have a fear of debate. And three, they have a disdain for considered reflection. So, coming back to courage then, the courage which is developed through genuine courage, to me, a practice of stillness, and in practicing stillness, we develop a certain okayness with discomfort. And my goodness, there is a great existential discomfort in recognizing you don't know what the heck is going on. Also, it gives you a real compassion for your brothers and sisters, who you have to recognize and admit don't know what's going on really. We can get into arguments from a scientific point of view, but very few of us in our face-to-face and online conversations are referring to peer-reviewed documentation. We might cherry-pick some of our favorite findings from it, but typically we're not coming at it from a point of view of the scientific process. But let's be straight up about it. We are genuinely pissed off with people with whom we have strong disagreements with. But again, coming back to a more responsive behavior with regards to conflict resolution, you have to recognize that you are never going to change anyone's opinion merely by disapproving of it. As Dr. Martin Luther King once observed, you have very little moral persuasive power with people who feel your underlying contempt. And so, my friends, coming back to the heart of empathic communication with those you strongly disagree, I might suggest a couple things. First, take a breath. Really, take a breath when you're about to launch into a tirade to show people the right way. Take a breath. And hold that spirit of contention, but choose not to act on it. You might also want to change the languaging to, hey, tell me more about that, or what brings you to that conclusion, or hey, I think we disagree on this point, which is different than you're wrong. Again, this is not something that happens overnight. This takes practice. It really does. And as we looked at earlier, sincerity, giving an honest measure of yourself, means that you got to be straight up with yourself when you are coming from a point of view of blame and vengeance. It takes tenacity, the other quality I spoke of earlier on. Tenacity has that. Its root, the Greek term, refers to like a crab's claws, to sink your claws into the moment. And this practice of coming back to our vow of doing no harm requires that we sink our claws into our present moment awareness, physically, with a determination to do no harm and to truly understand where brothers and sisters are coming from. All right, I could go on and on, but I found I'm getting enchanted with the sound of my own voice, and so it's time to bring this to a conclusion. Until we meet again, stay sharp, be strong. All the best, my friends.